Hello, and welcome to The Content Bite, a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a freelance journalist, copywriter, and content producer. I'm also the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for Australian writers and other creatives.
And I'm Lynn Testoni. I'm a journalist and content writer as well. Rachel and I are your weekly co-hosts, and every week we bring you all kinds of tips, tricks, and some fabulous guests to help you make the most of your freelance business.
I used spreadsheets for 15 years.
Oh my God, did you?
I know. But as my business grew, I grew out of the spreadsheets.
Yes.
And it got harder to sort of keep on top of all my invoicing and quoting and things like that. And Rounded was the accounting software that finally converted me. And it helped simplify my taxes and also just let me take ownership of what goes on in my freelance business. And I love that I've got visibility over my finances, so I can see what's happening with my cash flow and all the other insights that are on the dashboard.
I know, the dashboard is so cool. I love a good pie chart, and I love the whole thing because it makes it so much easier to work it out.
Yeah.
And don't forget, if you're a gold member of Rachel's List, you can save 20% on any annual Rounded plan, even if you're an existing customer. So see the show notes for details.
So today we have a really great chat coming up on LinkedIn. Whether you have a love or hate relationship with LinkedIn, mine is a bit more love than hate. There's no doubt that it can really boost your career, isn't that? Do you agree, Lynn?
Yes, I do. I mean, I get a lot of work through LinkedIn, and having a profile there really makes a difference, and it's definitely worked for me. And we know it's hugely popular with our listeners as well. So this week we've got Cathy Anderson, and she's a senior editor from LinkedIn's newsroom, which is fascinating.
Yay!
She's coming in to chat about LinkedIn and some of the ways you can use it more effectively as a freelance journalist, copywriter, or content producer.
Yeah, we were just talking offline actually about how this is a bit of a pull the mysterious LinkedIn curtain aside to see what goes on behind. So it's going to be really exciting. And Cathy has done a lot of fascinating things in her career, and she's been a generalist too. So how about I introduce her and we'll get her into the hot seat?
Great idea.
Cathy Anderson is a highly experienced journalist, editor, and writer, currently working as senior editor with LinkedIn News Australia. She's a self-confessed jack of all trades and began as an assistant editor of a powerboat magazine. Wow. She's since worked for major metro newspapers, street press, news websites, a smartphone app, and in custom press. And when daily newspaper MX folded, I remember MX. Oh,
yeah.
She co-founded digital content agency Ginger Brown with her partner and fellow journalist Andrea Beatty. The business offers freelance journalism, blog posts, copywriting, social media content creation, and web content across industries as diverse as education, hospitality, travel, and caravanning. And in her role with LinkedIn, Cathy leads the daily news team, curates morning and evening news wrap-ups, writes stories on sustainability, sport, and social impact, and co-manages the LinkedIn for Journalists program in Australia and New Zealand, which we're going to talk about too. Welcome, Cathy. We're very happy to have you here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I feel like a bit of a fangirl here because when I was launching into my own freelance career, I listened to the podcast all the time and it was so informative. And so I'm sure you must get that a lot. But yeah, it's really great to be chatting with you.
Oh, that's lovely.
Actually, we don't really know who is listening to us unless they tell us. So it's nice to hear that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, for sure.
No, it's great. So welcome, Cathy. I'm so keen to delve into your career. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you've come to be at LinkedIn.
It's so interesting, actually. We had a meeting, which we do with our broader APAC LinkedIn team, editorial team recently. And one of us always does a how I got here kind of preview. And when I looked back, I'd actually have done quite a lot. And now it's not seen as a bad thing to have had many jobs that I probably 15 years ago probably would have think. But as you said in the intro, I actually started as an assistant editor of Australian Powerboat magazine, and it's a very random way to start a career in journalism.
We've all done something random at the beginning though.
It is random, but I want to know, did you get to go on boats all the time? Were you testing boats? How amazing. That would have been
cool.
Yeah.
But there is some sort of method to the madness. At the time, I had a group of friends who had a ski boat, so it was a personal pastime. But also, my
Awesome.
stepfather was a boat racer, so he was actually in sort of high performance boating. So that's what our sort of family activities would do. So when I was at university, I started pitching stories to them, and it's a part of Yaffa Publishing, which runs ad news and a whole lot of specialist titles.
Yeah.
So they, really specialize in, plucking young journalists and giving them a lot of work to do.
Yes.
So that's kind of where it all started.
Great way to start, though.
Yeah.
I really credit those days as teaching me how to work under pressure, to, be able to meet deadlines, to interview, sort of all the basics that you need for a career in journalism. So I was very grateful, even though it was it was an odd sort of content type, I guess. But after a few years with that, I actually moved to London and did my backpacking tour of duty. So didn't really work in journalism at all over there. I don't know if a lot of people sort of, just ditch their lives, and I just worked in admin and, sort of traveled around, had the best time. And back in Australia, didn't really settle very well. I think a lot of people do that when they live overseas for a little while, come back. And
can relate to that.
Yeah, it's so true. So I actually ended up with another job in admin, and it was great for a while, but really just kind of not for me. I found it a bit boring. So started freelancing, actually. Did a lot of contract roles, moved to Melbourne. I worked across magazines, street press, picked up a couple of editorships on a street press title, and also worked back in boating and caravanning, worked for a company that did a whole lot of those kinds of mags. And eventually ended up at MX newspaper, which I know a lot of people have very fond memories of. It was such a special publication, very irreverent, funny, worked with a great group of people. And when that folded, my partner Andrea and I formed Ginger Brown, which was great, actually. I mean, I don't run the business anymore. Andrea takes that on board, but we learned firsthand what it was like to be a small business owner. And I know that a lot of your listeners can certainly relate to the 55,000 hats you have to wear, the things that you don't know, right? When you're in a job and all of a sudden after 7 years being institutionalized at News Corp, and you're out and you're having to learn all these new skills. But while we're at MX, we worked with this wonderful person called Kayla Dengate, who is now my colleague at LinkedIn. So that's pretty much, she introduced me to our previous managing editor, who we worked together at HuffPost, and then an opportunity came up to go with LinkedIn, and took the plunge.
Wow, that's so interesting. So what were you thinking it would be like working at LinkedIn? Did you have any idea of, how different it might be?
Initially, I kind of thought, what is it? Like, why would you write for LinkedIn? It's not a traditional sort of newsroom. And when we first started, Andrea and I were both working for LinkedIn, actually. It was through the pandemic, and we were on as what they call contingent workers. So sort of contracts, sort of pitching in to help where they needed us. And it was really fascinating. The amount of content that's on there and the types of stories that we were writing were not as boring as I thought they might have been. And I'll probably get into trouble with my team for saying that. But it was really quite surprising. But I'd always swore I'd never go back to a full-time role. But then I did a year contract maternity leave, and I just really loved it. I love the team, and full-time role came up and I applied.
Wow.
What are the things you love about it? I mean, the benefits of working in that newsroom. A newsroom is a fun place to be anyway, isn't it?
It is. Well, what do I love about it? I think it was a different change, definitely, from running my own business and having two of us in our own business. Also, just having one person who had a full-time job financially is probably just a bit more stable, I guess. But mainly it's the team culture that we have. We operate in a really fast-paced, but it's a very supportive environment. We meet almost every morning, except on Fridays. We share updates. We have fun. It's much more supportive and collegiate, collaborative, I guess, than other newsrooms that I've worked in. Certainly not as competitive. we pick up each other's work. You know, we are also part of a global editorial team. So there are 230 editorial staff worldwide.
Wow.
So I have an opportunity to get to know other people, other cultures, other ways that teams work. So that's been really great.
Are you in the office, or do you sort of have a hybrid arrangement?
Yeah, it's a hybrid arrangement, which is really good. We have offices in Sydney and Melbourne. So I don't live too far from Melbourne CBD. So I ride my bike in, and one of my colleagues is based down here. So we have that sort of face-to-face time a couple of days a week. It's really flexible, which is what I love about it too.
How interesting. Well, I know that the LinkedIn news team curates content and also writes fresh content. So talk us through that mix and what your role entails. And I thought it was really interesting in your bio how you had specific niches at LinkedIn. So I'm wondering if you put your hand up for those.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So what we do each morning is that overall our jobs are, the content we create is part original content and part curatorial. So as a news team, our remit is to help to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. So we are trying to encourage people on LinkedIn to have great conversations, to share their insights, their knowledge, and in doing so, they connect with other people who can help them to form a community, but also to, potentially lead to work opportunities, to networking, to all the things that I'm sure both of you are well aware that, LinkedIn can help people to do. So the way we do that with news is that we'll do a sweep of news sites that we like to look at each day. They include major ones, but also niche titles as well, and see what kinds of stories are happening each day. We will pick up some of those and form those, massage them into a conversation piece that we then distribute to members who would be interested in that. So perhaps a story on AI might go to people who are interested in tech. A story on, doctor shortages might go to members in healthcare, that kind of thing. But they also then form part of our evening wrap-up and daily rundown, which are the two sort of flagship editorial products. But then we also do content that's original. So we're interviewing experts in a same way that a general newsroom works.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So it's quite a large team. Did you say 250 or something?
Yeah, it's 230 globally. In Australia, we're a team of 7. So we have our managing editor, senior managing editor, Cap, who's literally one of the great sub-editors of all time. No apostrophe ever goes out in the wrong place in any of our copy. We have 3 segment reporters. So Kayla covers careers, Marty covers tech, and Misa covers finance. So the careers, tech, and finance are pretty core LinkedIn topics. And as you mentioned before, I am one of the generalists of the team. I'm the daily news lead, which means I sort of oversee the curation of those 2 main editorial products that we do every day. And Brendan is our other general news writer. And then we also have Natalie, who's our special projects lead, and she's also very skilled in broadcast journalism. So she does a lot of LinkedIn lives and video interviewing, that kind of thing too. So
wow.
We're a small team here, but globally it's quite large.
How interesting. And does LinkedIn ever commission writers, or can we pitch to LinkedIn if we wanted to do that?
I would love to say that we have a freelancer budget. We don't.
Yeah.
But we do. We are making a very big effort to assist writers and journalists on the platform to get their stories amplified, but also the content that they create. And we can do that in a number of different ways. So through news curation, but also through some of the other notifications that we do each day as well. So I'm not sure if we ever spoke about these, but each day we do an idea of the day. So we find someone who has written a post about something really interesting, and we share that, and then we send it to people to say, look, here's this great idea. What do you think about it, to encourage conversations? And the other one is what we'll call a spotlight, which is where we find another post each day of someone who has written something really insightful on a variety of topics. It could be, the 4-day work week, or a mental health, or kindness and its role at work, or something along those lines. And then we also can highlight those too. So there's definitely plenty of ways we can support journalists, but yeah, just not with the paid opportunities. I'm sorry.
Mm.
So what does it take for journalists to get noticed by LinkedIn and have their stories highlighted in these wrap-ups and some of the opportunities you're talking about?
For freelancers specifically, it'd be great to, to get more pictures from people directly. Definitely open to that. A lot of the stories that we're finding are published on major sites. So we do feature freelancer stories if they are on some of those sites that we're looking at. We do a lot of that in terms of opinion pieces. A lot of those get picked up really easily too, because they're offering different, great perspectives, particularly if that writer is on LinkedIn. If they have a profile and they say shared their own story, then that's an added bonus for us to be able to consider it for inclusion.
What if they sent you your favorite bottle of wine or something?
So I like a really nice Grenache. No. That would be very nice. But thank you.
Well, look, I know we were going to talk about LinkedIn Premium because that's something that you do offer for journalists. And I recently managed to pick up a LinkedIn Premium account after trying a few times, which is great. So talk to us a bit about what that program offers and how journos can get on board.
Yeah, I'm so glad you were able to make it to that session. It's called LinkedIn for Journalists. So it used to actually be something that the US team ran independently, and you could only sort of do it if you got up at 2 a.m. or something like that because of the time zones. But we've actually taken that to almost every country that has a LinkedIn office does this program locally now, which just makes so much more sense for us to be speaking to publishers and journalists locally. I guess the first thing to say on the outset is that journalists are really important on LinkedIn. Your content is really great. We are great communicators. We know how to write. We know how to tell a story. And I think LinkedIn definitely sees the value in journalists being on the platform and building their brand, building an audience, that kind of thing. So the session that you attended is a joint venture with our communications team and business development. So the idea is to show you how to get your profile up to scratch, how to share your work, best practice for posting, as well as building your personal brand. I mean, who are you as a journalist? What do you write? What can people expect when they come to your page, to your profile? What can they learn from you, I guess? And by attending that session, we offer a 12-month business premium membership, which has a lot of perks for sure, but it's also the journalists who attend, you become part of our monthly email, which has lots of insider tips. You get best practices, but also any product updates, so they're the first to know about that kind of thing.
Interesting.
Yep.
So I guess that if you have that LinkedIn Premium, it's much easier for freelancers to send letters of introduction, connect with content chiefs or brands that they might be interested in working for. But is that the only way you can use it for lead generation, or is there something else?
The premium gives you 15 in-mails per month. An in-mail is the cute term we've got for, LinkedIn mail. So, which you actually get a refund on those credits if they respond to you. So you might not use, you'd be able to top up.
I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah, that's quite cool. And that's generally how you can do that when you're talking about lead generation, is reaching out to people on LinkedIn, to potential clients, to even to others, to connect with them also. You can see who's checked out your profile. So if you can see that someone who potentially might be able to offer you work or is an interesting case study, then you can, go and connect with them. You can also add a custom button to your profile, which say, come and see my website kind of thing. So you can add that. But one of the best things I think about Premium is the opportunity to access LinkedIn Learning. I'm not sure do you remember Linda? It used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Linda, and sort of morphed into LinkedIn Learning, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So LinkedIn bought Linda, and then it has become LinkedIn Learning. And there's more than 22,000 courses on there. It's quite extraordinary. And I think for freelancers being able to do a course on generative AI or public speaking or learning how to design your own logo or, sort of using cloud accounting, all those kinds of things are in one place, and you can, there's more like 50 courses that come online each week or something. So I feel like that's a really great way for freelancers to get the most out of that membership and upskill as well.
I love that button actually, because with my premium LinkedIn, I've made it subscribe to my newsletter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I am seeing some people come through that button, which is really great. So it's just that little,
that's excellent.
Yeah, it's just that little kind of always there tweak when someone looks at your profile and stuff. So yeah, I'm investigating all the LinkedIn premium solutions slowly but surely.
I really want to know how you both use LinkedIn and what you get out of it, because it's so interesting to me as well to hear what journalists think of it and how useful it is.
I like learning from other people who are on there, because with that button I was just talking about, I see how other premium, I didn't notice this before, but obviously it's a premium thing, and I see how other people use it, and a lot of people say request services, or, so people can instantly, like I see a lot of agency people using it in a different way, but I know that I definitely want to use it for the lead gen, because that's something that I haven't done on LinkedIn before. And I love seeing who's looking at my profile, because you never got to see that before. So, yeah.
That is really cool.
I think I use it as just a way of staying top of mind. I try and post at least once a week, and I often put some of my work up there, some PDFs and stuff. And I think it's a great way of sharing with all my contacts. And I've got a couple of thousand, I think. And then they know what I'm up to, and I just share the sort of work I've done. I've also found it really fabulous in keeping in touch with former clients.
Yeah.
It's quite an acceptable way of connecting with your clients. I'd never connect with them on Facebook.
No.
But on LinkedIn, it's a professional thing. So I connect with them. And when they move companies, as people do over time, especially the longer you've been freelancing. So I've been freelancing for about 8 years. People move to other companies, and I think just posting, they remember me, and I keep getting work, and I follow them and connect them. I know when they're moving places and where they're moving to, and I find that really helpful. I feel that I get more work that way.
And it's been so useful, hasn't it, for the Content Bite, because the summit, especially, because all our speakers are promoting the summit, and then we amplify those by reposting with our own comments on what that session is going to be all about and why we're excited about it. And that generates ticket sales. But the other thing that I have found it really useful for is promoting Rachel's List and the jobs that we have at Rachel's List. And that, encourages other people to try a bespoke solution that might work for them. And it's so useful for all of that.
This is really heartening for me to hear that, because I love hearing success stories, obviously, but also that it's practical and useful. So I'm hearing you're building your brand, you're selling tickets, you're raising awareness of your work, keeping in contact with people in a way that doesn't mean you have to share your photos of your family or animals or whatever, like on Facebook. Just not to promote it.
Absolutely. Well, I know that, you're in the LinkedIn world all the time. So I really want to ask you, what are some mistakes that you see freelancers making on LinkedIn? Because there is that funny LinkedIn Twitter account or X account. Have you read those?
Oh, no.
So hilarious. But anyway, it's something for you to hunt down.
I definitely need you to share that with me so you can have a bit of a laugh.
I will.
Sure.
Yeah. But what are the mistakes? What could we do better, or what do we do that everyone just like cringes at?
I think, please refrain from broetry as much as you can. That's probably one of my big things. No, actually, I'm just joking with that. But I guess the first thing that I would say is that a lot of people don't have a complete profile. So that's really, really important. A cover photo, a profile photo, and that needs to be made public as well. I can definitely share a link that will give you some easy tips, because if you've just set it to private, then anyone who isn't connected with you will just see a blank avatar, which is not very approachable. Inconsistently posting, so maybe once 8 months ago, and nothing since then, or a couple of comments on people's other posts that are like, well done, congrats, but nothing of substance, or a lack of engagement. If they are posting things, they're doing what I call a drop and run, which is where you just sort of pop the link in there and say, here's my latest story for XYZ, and then that's it. And no sort of tagging of other people who may be involved, no context in the post, that kind of thing. I think that the profile is really one of the most important things to set up, because the more active you are, the more people will see you and they'll be curious maybe about who you are. And so when they go to your profile, you want to have your about section looking really slick. You want to have some of your good posts featured so that, people have got a snapshot of what you post, of who you are. Your headline, which is what is at the top of the profile, needs to say, it doesn't have to just say your job title. It can be like Lynn's, it's, mover, shaker, content creator, which is very
Such
cute.
a great tagline.
Such a great tagline.
Yep.
But it doesn't have to just be your job title, which some people just put. It can be a little bit more, I'm an energetic individual, or you like IT and, and chat GPT, or I write about, I write on sustainability, finance, whatever it might be. So I think that is really important, but definitely the sharing the work, which I think we'll get into in a tick, but is also very important. But yeah, just having a really solid presence for people to want to be in contact with you. And just to clarify too, there's two ways to be connected with people on LinkedIn. You can follow someone, which means that you will see their content, but they won't see yours. Or you can connect with someone, which is when you send them a request, and in which case it'll be a two-way street.
Interesting. I didn't know how that worked, actually. So that's good to know.
So what are your top tips for writers who want that maximum engagement?
One of the things I would share, or the most important thing to share, is how the algorithm works on LinkedIn, and it values knowledge and insight above everything else. So it wants to share posts that are offering really insightful takes on a particular topic. It wants to know that you are giving other members a piece of information or an insight or knowledge that they wouldn't get from anywhere else apart from this post. So that might seem a little bit overwhelming, but it really isn't. I'll give you a really great example. When you're sharing your story, say you've written a story about the latest report on global warming, instead of just, as I said before, just sort of dropping and run, you want to include at least 2 or 3 paths on what the story is, perhaps even a quote from someone that you've interviewed. You want to tag a friendly interviewee as well, because that way they'll get a notification that they've been tagged in your story. Now that you post, they may interact with it. But you want to be able to, maybe even include some statistics if that's possible. And you also really want to be able to craft a call to action. This is something that our team spends a lot of time doing, because we want to pay particular attention to the type of conversation that we want to create. Like, what do we want this to be? Do we want to just for people to consume and move on, or do we want people to stop to really, read the content and then add their own insights to it and then share their knowledge with others? That's exactly what we want. And that's what I suggest that others do as well. The other good tip that I would have is to mix up your media. So I know that, Rachel, you tried polls for the first time the other day.
You've been watching me, Cathy.
I am.
That went mental, that poll. I was actually like watching it going, oh my gosh, because I don't often get very controversial on LinkedIn, but it did. Yeah.
Honestly, I if I could start a cult of LinkedIn polls, I would, because I love them so much. And we do 2 or 3 a week, because they're so good and they're so engaging.
They're easy for people to engage with, I suppose.
Yeah, they really are. And people, what we find is that people will stop and vote, and then when they may have scrolled on from something, they'll stop and go, and actually, I want to tell you why I voted. And so then they'll get in on the comments, and then, you have this, sometimes it backfires, and you have, some people who have some very controversial opinions, but they can work really well. Poll, mix up an image, Canva, templates, quote cards, all the things that freelancers know how to do. because you're doing it already for your own social media. Because they're adding a couple of, if you had a couple of PDFs, you upload it as a document and then it reads like a slideshow. So just making sure your content looks very different, and then definitely tagging people to get those notifications and then get them to potentially engage with it or repost it.
Yeah.
I definitely find the PDF works so well, because if you're doing a carousel on Instagram in Canva, so you create the 10 slides or whatever it is, and then at the same time you save it as a PDF, it's so easy to upload it to LinkedIn and it creates that exact same effect, but it does get really good engagement because people know there's probably some real nuggets of gold in there. And I love the carousel function. I use that quite a bit.
Exactly. It's so good. And people can just click through on at their own pace. And video as well is it's something else that we're putting a lot of effort into, and we're encouraging people to do that. Up to 90 seconds is a sweet spot, but I mean, see what takes your fancy, I guess. But the pro tip there is also to include all the knowledge and content that you wouldn't, if you were just putting a link there. Still have 2 or 3 paths of content so the algorithm can pick up that it's, insightful and interesting and people should read it.
Yeah.
All right. So I get asked a lot, I think this is a new sort of thing that LinkedIn has. So I often get asked to comment on various topics. Is that a good way to contribute it? And what would that mean for my profile?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Those are collaborative articles. That's one way that LinkedIn has introduced AI into the platform. So if you feel that that's in your wheelhouse, then just go for it, because those articles will be shared to the feeds of certain professionals whose content or job title or interests reflect the content itself. So if you're being asked to contribute to articles on content writing, or
usually content writing, sometimes podcasts.
Yep. Yeah. Great. Because so what happened there is if you can add your own contributions to there. So you added a couple of paragraphs that will be shared with other members who will then see you, maybe follow you, have a look at your content. It's more exposure for you. If you do it often enough, and I don't know the exact parameters, but you can get rewarded with a top voice in XYZ field, which is an orange top voices badge. And that's different to the blue top voices badge, which is a program which is curated by the editorial team. But it's I'd say it's definitely worthwhile if it doesn't feel forced, for sure.
Yeah. I'd love to ask you something which I know will be of huge interest to everybody out there listening, because LinkedIn's used so far and wide by so many companies and brands and individuals. Is it a real no-brainer for journalists and content specialists and copywriters to offer services, writing posts for those companies, like actually making that a service?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And we're seeing a lot of people do that as a business anyway. And a lot of people are on LinkedIn as LinkedIn specialists. So they're not employed by LinkedIn. They will write CVs or train you in how to use LinkedIn. But in terms of offering it as part of content writing, absolutely. I think that that's a definite no-brainer. There's so many professionals and C-suite professionals, particularly executives, who are using it to share company news, to share updates, and also marketing and PR agencies are weaving in breaking news on LinkedIn now as part of their strategy. So that's a really another potential avenue for writers who may be, working freelance for those kinds of businesses too.
Interesting.
I do think it's really untapped. I don't see a lot of Rachel's List members offering that as a service. And I think so untapped. You could do thought leadership. You could, do the breaking news stuff for agencies and stuff like that. I've only ever had one client. I've had lots of clients come via LinkedIn, but only ever had one that wanted me to write their LinkedIn content, which I thought was interesting. Yeah.
Wow. Well, now you've done that LinkedIn for journalists, I think you've got more of an idea, right, of how content should be framed, what you can, and a lot of those tips go for personal and page profiles for sure. But I would definitely encourage writers to add that to their portfolio.
Interesting.
Oh, I do quite a bit of it. I do.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I do. Often I do social. I might do a case study for some of the companies I work for, and then I will do LinkedIn posts as part of that, as an extension of that, and that's part of the brief. And so I do a bit of that, and sometimes I actually write LinkedIn posts as well.
Imagine though, like if you
Yeah.
could get newsletters for brands, so you're the newsletter writer on LinkedIn, or I suppose the thought leadership writer. Yeah,
It is. It's
that'd be
interesting.
good.
That does sort of move us to the next question. So I'd love to hear about the LinkedIn newsletters, because that's been a big thing and it's sort of bedded down now. So how does that work, and what does it offer companies or people?
Yeah, newsletters are so fun and they're really amazing. Our team has 4 newsletters. So because we have the 3 segment editors, we have a finance and tech wrap up, and then we have a get hired and get ahead newsletter.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, it's really varied too. I mean, that most of them have an interview upfront format, and then a sort of, a wrap of the tech, finance, career news, what's been happening, as well as a sort of LinkedIn learning component. The other one we have is run by Natalie MacDonald. She's our senior editor, does a lot of broadcast work, but she has a diversity and inclusion newsletter called Inclusion Matters, which is really focused on that area. Newsletters are a really great way for companies and individuals to get a broader audience than they would normally have been able to pick up, whether it's on other platforms or on your own website. We work with a lot of publishers who are doing newsletters now. We've launched 4, almost 5 in the last year. And they are saying exactly that they're picking up an audience that they didn't have previously for individuals, and definitely for copywriters, for content creators on LinkedIn. I think it's just a no-brainer to be able to launch a newsletter. They basically are a series of articles, and the template for doing an article, I don't know if either of you have ever written an article on LinkedIn.
Yes.
I don't know if I have.
Yeah, I have. But a long time ago. So yeah.
It's not hard. It's very templated. You can, you have lots of options with fonts and things and adding images. You can embed posts and embed videos and links and banners, that kind of thing. It's very easy to use. The benefit of them, when you create one, you give it a name, obviously, and a title and a bit of a description of what it is. But when you launch it, every person who follows you or is connected with you is sent a notification and an invitation to subscribe. So if you have a following of 2, 10, 20,000, whatever your following is, all of those people will say, hey, Lynn Testoni just launched a newsletter. Would you like to subscribe to it? And every edition after that, of those who subscribe sent a notification in the app and an email if they've got their settings set for email. I think they're just a really great way to broaden your audience, to stretch your wings, I guess, and also find more eyeballs for your stories.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I know, like when I did the LinkedIn training, I did ask about, was it all right to replicate external newsletters on LinkedIn?
Yep.
So, and that's something I haven't, like the wrap up is, I was actually encouraged to hear you say you can add in banners and all of that sort of stuff, because the wrap up is so big. It's such an unwieldy beast, and it has lots of banners and things like that. So I've always thought, oh, do I replicate it on LinkedIn? No, not this week. But yeah, it makes me think maybe I should.
I would love to see your wrap up be a newsletter, because I think it's such a huge resource. I love getting it every Friday because you go to so much trouble to find all this juicy.
She does. She definitely does.
There's so much information in it. It's so great. And I feel like there would be an audience outside of your current audience that would really enjoy it and appreciate all the resources that you put into it. The short answer is no, we don't penalize external links. And most people who have a newsletter, and certainly the publishers that are producing newsletters on LinkedIn, recycle existing content. So some of them are like copy paste, or they're truncated versions of an existing newsletter that they want people to subscribe to the newsletter from the website. Yeah. So it's an easy lift in that sense. And once you set up one with all the banners, then you just clone it as a template, and then you don't have to do all the work again. You just have to drop in all your links for your juicy
Oh, clever.
resources that you found.
Do you have people doing it who do like a weekly newsletter, like the wrap up or something, but they'll do a month version of it on LinkedIn? So they might collate it and squish it down into maybe a month-long version, but then the CTA would be, hey, do you want this every week? Come and subscribe, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's really common too. I mean, the cadence for it is totally up to you and your bandwidth. I think that's what we say to journos, what we say to publishers. You do what you can, right? There's no
there's so much you could do.
Expectation.
Yeah.
There really is. And, you've got, you lead busy lives, you've got to do the work as well as promote the work.
Yeah.
So it totally could be. I think it just, a lot of people who have newsletters just have, some of them do them weekly, some fortnightly, some monthly. It's really your call.
Yeah. Okay. That's something to think about.
So what sort of topics do well on LinkedIn? You talked a bit about sort of tech and careers. Are there sort of particular niches or things that do engage the audience?
It's a really great question. And you would think that business, professional topics, careers would be number one, and they are really high. Tech, finance, and careers certainly for our team is the focus. And that's why we have people who cover them. But on any given day, we know that there are really, really active audiences for content that includes education, healthcare and mental health, really quite popular. Travel as well. There's a lot of travel journalists on LinkedIn. I love seeing their work. Property, automotive, particularly EVs and around sustainability, and even subjects you wouldn't think of like sport is starting to, become part of the ecosystem. Sure, there's lots of intersections between sport and careers. Not so much, results and that kind of thing. It's not, LinkedIn isn't a place for that. It's very interesting. So my advice to, freelancers who are thinking about putting their content out there, if they think it's not LinkedIn worthy, is just really try it. Because I think there's a really big appetite, because you've got to remember those professionals work in all different areas and they're on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So they're sharing insights and they want to see, and then have those conversations around those topics too.
Yeah. Amazing.
We love hearing about our guests, how they're upskilling or future-proofing their careers, and there's so much change going on there. And I swear, LinkedIn, you must be at the vanguard of that too, because things are changing. The algorithm is always being tweaked. So what are you going to train or learn in this year? What's your wish list?
I've always been a print/online journalist and never a broadcaster. I was never into, video before, but I'm super interested in it now. And that's a focus for our team as well, as we're definitely pulling together more short form videos for the platform. So I really want to sharpen my video production skills, learn how to edit a little bit better. I mean, I'd love to have a podcast. That would be really fun. Maybe you two can give us a masterclass.
The LinkedIn editor.
Yes.
Do it.
Too funny. I think that would be a lot. Not every week.
That'd be great.
But also AI. I mean, there's no escaping it. We've all done a LinkedIn learning pathway, which was a succession of different courses last month. It's definitely something that we all have to, get on the bandwagon with. So definitely learning to how to use different tools to make life easier, what their potential is, that kind of thing.
Well, speaking of tools, are there any that the LinkedIn team would be lost without, or any that you personally just love using?
Oh, I don't know. We use Slack as our main, comms method. I think we all definitely do love that. I'm not an early adopter of tech. I find that really kind of tricksy. But one of the things I do really love, and this is kind of a cop-out, is my Apple Watch, because I set it to get me to move, because otherwise I'd sit, I'd done it quite sedentary. So it pings me every hour to go, time to move, time to get up and go for a walk. So I do really appreciate that as a tool.
Oh, that's great.
So what's next for you? Are there some projects that you're excited about?
Well, there's also the LinkedIn Premium coming up, isn't there?
Yeah.
That might be a project.
LinkedIn for journalists, Yeah,
there's a lot of special projects that happen through the year too. So the Olympics is coming up. So I'm going to be doing a bit more sport coverage of that. In November, we do our annual sustainability with the features around the COP summit.
Mm.
So yeah, there's a few big things coming up from an editorial side. On the LinkedIn for Journalists side of things, we've got another session on the 1st of July, which is on Monday. So I'll make sure I share the link for you to share with your
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes.
for sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Mm.
So that's really exciting. We've trying to, really just give journalists the tools to be able to, use LinkedIn better, to be on there, and it makes us all happy. We really, as journalists, our team came from newsrooms. We're really quite excited about the idea of being able to help other journalists to, to do well on the platform. So, use LinkedIn as best they can.
Fantastic.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much, Cathy, for coming on today. It's just been a really fascinating chat to see a bit behind the scenes. Amazing. I have learned a lot about LinkedIn today.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. I really have appreciated it. And I hope that your listeners can get something out of it. And always here if you need a hand with anything.
That's
Absolutely.
great. It's so useful. I think it'll really make people think about the platform and their profile and everything. I think it's
and how they're using it.
Yeah. Wow. So that brings us to the end of the show this week. But thanks to everyone who's listening and sharing us on social media, particularly on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you'll find the show notes in your podcast app, so you can head there to find out more about where you can find Cathy, and also where you can sign up for LinkedIn for Journalists program, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again to our wonderful sponsors, Rounded, easy accounting and invoicing software that helps freelancers run their business with confidence.
And don't forget, if you're a gold member of Rachel's List, you can check your welcome emails for an exclusive discount code on the annual subscription rate. You can also find it in the private Facebook Gold group, or just contact us at hello@rachelslist.com.au.